Imagine owning your own chocolate bar factory. All chocolate starts as cocoa beans. The hard little cocoa beans are ground up into cocoa powder. Different things are mixed with it to give the pure chocolate powder different kinds of consistency and taste. Here, in the chocolate bar factory, milk and sugar are mixed into the cocoa powder to make a sweet milk chocolate. These chocolate bars also have caramel and fudge on the inside. Look at that candy just pouring out. The inside roll of caramel and fudge is sprinkled and then completely coated with peanuts. Look at all those peanuts! A machine pours on the peanuts until the caramel and fudge bar is completely coated with fresh toasted peanuts. A sharp cutting blade divides the fudge caramel peanut rolls into separate bars. Warm liquid chocolate pours over the inside rolls to cover and coat them. They're just swimming in chocolate. While the chocolate is still warm and liquid, an air blower cleans off the excess chocolate. The bars move under the blower at just the right speed, so just the right amount of chocolate comes off. After the bars are evened off and have cooled to become completely solid, several will be tested to make sure each bar is exactly the correct weight. A continuous sheet of paper moves through the wrapping machine to wrap each bar individually. Now they're ready to be sent to a store, where you and I can buy them and finally get to eat one. We're going to see how videocassettes are made. The one you're watching right now was made the same way that you're going to see. Inside a videocassette, there's a reel of magnetic tape. It's attached to two spools so that it can be rewound. Blank tapes are made by taking large reels of magnetic tape, cutting it to the right length, and attaching it to the spools inside the cassette. Why is it called magnetic tape? Because the tape is covered with a thin layer of iron filings which can be easily magnetized. A video camera, or VCR, records on the tape by magnetizing the iron filings into a pattern. Each pattern electronically represents sound or images. When you play the cassette on your VCR, it reads the patterns and translates them back into the original sound and images. Videocassettes, which are pre-recorded, like the one you're watching, are made from master tapes. The master tape is made by recording an original video or a film onto the master. Large professional tape recorders, controlled through computers, are used to copy the original tape or film onto the master. The tape they use is much wider than the tape in a videocassette. That's because wider tape will copy sound and images more accurately. Lots of videocassettes are made at once from a single master tape. Banks of VCRs are hooked up to a professional playback machine. The computer-controlled playback machine sends the master tape sound and images to all the VCRs at once. Hundreds of pre-recorded videocassettes can be made at the same time. After the pre-recorded videos have been made, they are sealed in heat-sealed plastic to keep them free of dust. Dust is a big enemy of anything to do with magnetic tape. Now you know how this videocassette was made. We're going to see how neon signs are made. They're the multicolored signs that glow brightly and give big cities their nighttime glitter and sparkle. The sign we will see made just says neon. The glass worker is shaping glass to fit the letters of the drawing which a designer has made for this sign. Did you know that glass tubing bends easily when a little heat is applied? Don't try this at home, but watch how the glass worker bends the tubing to make the letters of the sign. When he blows through the tubing, it's to make sure the passages are free in the curves where he has bent it. Neon signs work by passing an electrical current through a tube filled with neon. The neon glows while the electricity is passing through. Electrical connections at the end of the tube will allow electricity to pass through, similar to the way a regular light bulb works. The tube is emptied of air and then filled with neon. Workers test the tubes with static electricity dischargers. They will also make the neon gas glow. A simple system of on-off switches makes the sign blink on and off. Tiny amounts of other gases added to the neon will give it different colors. Neon can be made to glow in almost any color. There, a neon sign that says neon. Neat, isn't it? You won't be surprised to learn that potato chips begin as potatoes. Lots and lots of potatoes. Truckloads full of potatoes. When they're delivered to the potato chip factory, they're put into bins, which will move them along the different stages of production. First, the potatoes are washed to get all the dirt off. The wet potatoes are dried with hot air. After they're dry, they're sorted and cut to the size that the factory wants to use. A peeling machine takes off most of the peel. A slicing machine cuts the potatoes into the very thin slices that will become potato chips. The slicing machine really works much faster than what you have seen. Slow motion lets you see how it works. The potato slices are washed again and dried with hot air. Now they are frying in huge vats of hot cooking oil. The chips are moving along through the oil just fast enough to be perfectly cooked, not undercooked and not burned. The cooked chips are dried off to get rid of excess oil and then salted. Sorting bins prepare them for bagging and wrapping machines. Watch how each bag gets just the right amount of chips. Once the bags are sealed, they're boxed and put on a truck to send to supermarkets and other food stores. Your mom or dad can make potato chips at home. Except for bagging and wrapping, making them at home would not be real different from what you've seen. But it takes an awful long time by hand. You have to slice each chip individually. I'd rather let the factory make my potato chips. Millions of pencils are made each year. Almost all of them are made in exactly the way you are going to see. A pencil starts with the wood that encases the lead you write with. Of course, the lead isn't really lead, but a very slippery substance called graphite. First, wood blocks are formed, shaved, and sanded. Each one will make several pencils. Grooves are cut into each wood block. This is where the graphite will go. Pencils are actually made of two wooden halves glued together around a graphite rod. As we watch, the blocks that will form each half of the pencils are being completed. They are sanded and shaped several times so that the two halves will fit together perfectly. Once they're ready, the graphite rods are put into the grooves. The blocks are then glued together and then cut into separate pencils. The individual pencils are rounded and sanded again before they go through the painting machine. When the paint has dried, each pencil is stamped with the name of the pencil manufacturer. A special machine fits each pencil with a metal eraser holder. Another machine fits the eraser holder with a rubber eraser. After they've been checked for defects, the pencils are boxed and sent to the store for you and me to use in class. Leather boots, like the fashionable boots for women that we are going to see made, are still made mostly by hand with some assistance from machines. First, the leather must be cut into the pieces that will be sewn together to make the boot. Then, the machines are used to flatten and smooth out the leather pieces. Once the different leather shapes have been prepared, they are ready for workers to begin sewing the pieces together. Lots and lots of separate stitches go into a leather boot in a number of different sewing steps. As you see, all of them are done by specially trained people using special machines. Temporary inserts are put into the boot to give it shape while it's being made. One of them is a piece of wood shaped like a foot. It is called a shoe tree. The size of the shoe tree determines what size the boot will be. Different shaping machines continue to refine the look of the boot, while workers add more stitches as they sew the boot to completion. And more stitches, and more stitches. Inspectors check to make sure the boot is being made properly at every stage of production. After the inner sole, the part your foot would touch, is stitched into the boot, very sticky glue is applied. The outer sole, the part that touches the floor, is then glued on. Once the heel and sole are in place, the boot now has its permanent size and shape, and the wood shoe tree can be removed. It will be used again and again to make other boots. Before being sent to the store, each boot receives its final touches. Aren't these boots pretty? A zipper factory has to be several things all at once. Part cloth maker, part metals factory, and a little bit of a plastics factory too. Zippers are those closing devices we use to keep pockets, carrying bags, pants, boots, and gloves closed. Because they are sewn into cloth, first the cloth has to be made. A weaving machine weaves the special tough cloth that the zipper will be sewn into. It will be sewn into a pocket of your jacket or sports bag. The cloth becomes one long continuous ribbon, which will be cut into two halves, hemmed and sewn. When the zipper starts out, it's one long continuous zipper in two halves. Imagine trying to get a zipper that long unstuck. A joining machine carefully joins the two halves of the zipper. Metal manufacturing now comes into play. The zipper factory stamps out the tabs that will let you move the sliding zipper joining clasp to open and close the zipper. These metal pieces are stamped out of different kinds of inexpensive metal. When all the pieces have been inspected and tested to make sure they work, the tab is attached to the joining clasp. A machine inserts it into the long zipper at intervals, and the zipper is cut to the needed length. After a little more sewing, it's ready to be sent to a store, or more likely, to another manufacturer who will place the zipper in clothes, luggage, or other things that use zippers. Peanut butter is delicious. Everybody likes it, but it's really not butter at all. It's called butter because you spread it like butter, but it doesn't even have any butter in it. Making peanut butter begins when a peanut grower delivers shelled peanuts to a peanut butter factory. The peanuts are emptied into bins. The bins start the peanuts on the road to becoming peanut butter. From the bins, the peanuts travel through a continuous series of interlinked machines which will turn them into peanut butter. It's a long voyage for a peanut, and it won't stop until filled jars of peanut butter are sealed into boxes at the end of the long line of machines. As the peanuts tumble through the machines, they are skinned, cooked, and washed. Then they are ground up and crushed under great pressure. When crushed under pressure, the peanuts release the oil they contain and become a kind of peanut sludge. Sugar is added to the sludge, and more peanut oil made from pressed peanuts as well. The added oil makes the peanut butter creamier. Salt is added too. The peanut butter jars are sterilized under high heat before they are filled with peanut butter. Then, a filling machine quickly fills each jar with exactly the right amount of smooth and creamy peanut butter. At the end of the trail, the jars of peanut butter are capped, labeled, and boxed for your shipment to supermarkets. I could go for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now, couldn't you? The factory we are visiting now bottles and packages all kinds of products for your hair, from shampoo to wash it, to coloring which colors it, to permanent which will make it hold a special shape for months. Shampoo is a kind of soap designed uniquely to wash your hair. It contains natural substances and/or special chemicals which have been tested as safe for hair. Some shampoo is a cream or gel and comes in squeezable tubes like toothpaste tubes. Some shampoo is a thick liquid which comes in bottles. But today, all shampoo is bottled or packaged in a factory like this one. All the different machines we are seeing have been designed to bottle and package things safely, securely, accurately, and fast. Each machine performs functions that used to be done by hand. They are very good examples of modern factory machines which do repetitive tasks over and over very well. Imagine trying to do all this by hand. It would be very, very slow. That's why people called engineers design these and other factory machines. They study what job must be done and how it can be done the best and fastest way. Then, the engineers design a machine to do that job. Other machines keep the products moving from machine to machine as they go through the process, all the way to the wrapping and boxing machines. Like many other products, shampoo is tested to make sure its quality is what it's supposed to be. This visit gives you a good idea of a modern factory. Look! Newspapers. We're going to see how they're made, from start to finish. Lots of people are needed to make a newspaper. Editors choose the stories that will go in the newspaper. Reporters write those stories. Photo editors choose the photographs that readers will see. Layout designers decide where stories and advertisements will go on each page. Some stories and photographs are sent to the paper electronically from all over the world. Computers save all the stories and photographs, and then help turn them into type, which is pasted onto paper the way the newspapers will look. Space is left for the photographs. In this newspaper, the photos are in color. Each primary color has its own film. When put together, they make a color picture. Finally, printing plates are made by photo engraving. A special machine photographs a whole page and puts it on a big copper sheet that's called a printing plate. Workers spray acid over the metal. It eats away the parts where there's no type or photos. When ink is put on the raised portion that's left, it will print onto the paper. The thin metal printing plates fit on the round drums of the printing press and print on long, continuous sheets of paper. At the end, the sheets will be cut and folded into the pages of a newspaper. then strapped together to be delivered by truck to newsstands and stores all over town. That's how a newspaper's made, from start to finish. Ice cream is a frozen mixture of milk, sugar, and flavorings. It starts with milk being delivered to the ice cream factory in a big truck. The milk is mixed with cream. Both are tested for their fat content, which will determine how creamy and smooth the ice cream will be. The milk and cream are mixed together in huge vats. Sugar is added and mixed in too. The mixture is then whipped together in special machines. This makes the mixture thick and creamy and gets air into it to add bulk. The ice cream is then frozen. Fruits are added as flavoring. When everything has been mixed together, the fruit-flavored ice cream is ready for the packaging machines. Is this man stealing our ice cream? No, he's just testing a sample to see that it tastes the way it should. What a great job! Here we see packaged cones, which are sometimes called drumsticks, being made. These machines fill them with the ice cream. Toppings like crushed nuts are poured on the ice cream, which is still a little soft in order for the nuts to stick to it. Labeling and wrapping machines finish the job. Look at all those ice cream sandwiches. This is how they're made. A block of ice cream, cut to the exact size, is inserted between the chocolate cookies to make a sandwich. Once they're through the wrapping machine, they're ready to go to the store. This visit sure has made me hungry for ice cream. How about you? Thomas Edison invented the first usable light bulb. He made his by hand, but now, of course, they are made mostly by machine. A light bulb works by passing an electric current through a very thin curled wire called the filament. The filament is usually made of tungsten, a metal which can stand a lot of heat without burning up. When electricity passes through the thin tungsten filament, it heats up real fast and gets very, very bright. That's how a light bulb gives off light. The different machine processes we are watching are all designed to hold that tungsten filament securely and to wire it so that it can receive electricity when someone puts it in a lamp. The reason it's so complicated is that the filament has to be placed in a glass bulb that's completely empty of air. That's right. Inside each light bulb is a vacuum, no air, just like outer space. If air were left in, the hot tungsten would burn right up. A light bulb would only last a few seconds. A machine sucks out all the air of the light bulb before it is sealed. That was the problem Thomas Edison faced when he invented a usable light bulb. It took him years to find a material that would glow brightly but wouldn't burn up right away. He didn't find tungsten at first, but he did find a material which permitted a light bulb to burn for several hours. Modern light bulbs, like the ones we're watching being made, burn for many, many hours. Light bulbs are delicate. You should never play with one or play around electrical sockets. And remember, the glass of a light bulb is extremely thin and sharp. If it breaks, you could be easily cut, so be careful around light bulbs. Photographs are easy to take, but they are pretty complicated to make. Film delivered to a developer is carefully marked and tracked so each customer will get his or her own photos back. You sure wouldn't want pictures of somebody else's dog, would you? But tracking the individual rolls of film is the easy part. You see, film is really a very thin coating of a silver solution on a plasticky surface. When light coming through the camera lens hits the silver coating, it's changed forever. The silver solution permanently records the image. Turning that thin silver coating into a photograph you can see and enjoy is quite a process. The exposed film is loaded onto reels which take it through baths of several different chemicals. These chemicals wash away the silver solution to the exact degree that it has been struck by light. When the process has been stopped by a chemical called a fixer, the film has become a negative. A negative is a reverse image of what the photograph will look like. When light shines through the negative onto photographic paper, it will record the image the way the camera saw it. Different machines help develop and print lots of photographs all at once. A light flashes through each negative onto positive paper, which has to be developed in tanks of chemicals too. The rolls of photographs then run through a cutting machine to be cut into individual pictures. The developing company keeps track of each customer's photographs throughout the entire process. When it's done, the photos are packaged along with the negatives and returned to the customer. The negatives will permit more copies to be made later on. So, when somebody says, "Smile," and takes your picture, there's a long process ahead before you can see what you look like. Have you ever eaten a croissant? It's a flaky, buttery French pastry roll shaped like a half moon, or crescent, which is how it's gotten its name. Croissant is French for crescent. Special pastry dough is mixed in huge batches along with lots of butter. The big dough blocks then go through a series of rolling machines, which make it thinner and smoother each time. That's what gives a croissant its flakiness. Each pass through a rolling machine makes the dough thinner and thinner. When the sheets are thin enough, they are cut into triangles. A rolling machine rolls up the triangles into the basic body of a croissant. At this croissant factory, the unbaked croissant rolls are then frozen in huge freezers. They will be sent frozen to individual bakeries, which will thaw them and bake them just before they are sold. Technicians test the croissants for weight, size, shape, consistency, and taste. They keep records of all their tests. The frozen croissant rolls are boxed and delivered by truck to individual bakeries. After the croissants have been thawed in steam ovens, bakers shape them into the familiar croissant shape. They then give them a final coat of butter so the outside will brown in the oven. At the bakery, trays of croissants are all baked at the same time. When they come out, they're ready to eat. You probably don't like coffee, but if you did, this would be delicious. Ballpoint pens are made out of plastic. The plastic starts as hard little plastic pieces. Chemicals and heat turn it into hot liquid plastic, which is forced into molds. The plastic cools quickly and hardens into the parts of a ballpoint pen. Have you ever heard of the words mass production? Like a lot of what you've already seen, ballpoint pens are made by mass production. This means making lots of items all at once, by first manufacturing all the parts and then putting them together with machines. In the old days, people made things by making one complete product at a time, by hand. But you couldn't make all the zillions of ballpoint pens in the world that way. Many of the pictures you're looking at are actually in slow motion. The machines work even faster than what you're seeing. After being cooled and ejected from the molding machines, all the different parts are smoothed, inspected, and put together by different assembling machines. To test the pens, several are chosen at random and put in these testing machines. Can you imagine trying to write that much or that fast? Each year, the testing machines write millions of miles to make sure that your pens you use in school will work. Finally, packaging machines put the pens into the packs that will be sold in the stores. All dairy products start with milk, whether it's cheese or yogurt, ice cream, or sour cream. Milk is at the base of all dairy products. In this factory, we'll see how yogurt and cottage cheese are made and packaged. Yogurt is made of fermented milk. That's how yogurt gets its special flavor and gooiness. The fermentation is speeded up in special cookers. Then, fruits are sometimes added for more flavor. Yogurt flows fairly freely. That's why the filling machine can work so fast. Cottage cheese is made by curdling milk and stopping the process before it hardens. Workers rake through huge vats of cottage cheese to make sure the curds are the right size and the right thickness. Another filling machine fills thousands and thousands of cartons of cottage cheese. There are many different kinds of yogurt. Each one has its own type of container, which must be filled and capped by these fast-moving machines. When cottage cheese and yogurt were made by hand on the farm, a farmer could only produce a few pounds at a time. A modern factory makes it possible for all of us to enjoy these dairy products without having to live next door to a farmer. Samples of yogurt are tested for quality and to assure that they are perfectly safe to eat. To make gold chains, pieces of gold are poured into a special kiln. The gold is heated until it's so hot that it melts and becomes liquid. The hot liquid gold is poured into a mold. When the gold has cooled, it's now in the shape of a long, thin bar. Wire-making machines, similar to those used to make electrical wire, now squeeze the gold again and again. Each time the gold is pulled through a new machine, it has become longer and thinner. Gold is a very soft metal. It is easily stretched, almost as if it were clay. When the gold wire is the thickness desired, it is sent into the chain-making machine. The gold is looped into separate links. The links are quickly cut and twisted around each other to make a continuous chain. Some chains are then sent into a twisting machine, which will give them a special look and style. Everything is done by machine, except the final steps. Workers must solder the clasps on by hand. The final cleaning and polishing are done by hand too. At the end of the process, those little pieces of gold at the beginning have become beautiful gold chains. Coffee isn't for kids, but it's one of the most popular beverages in the world. Most adult Americans like to start the day with a cup of coffee, and many have it after dinner too. Most coffee beans come from South America. The coffee is shipped here in big burlap bags. from Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador. Each type of coffee bean is different, and each produces a different coffee taste. These people are the most important workers in a coffee factory. They are the taste testers. They carefully taste each batch of coffee beans to see what kind of flavor it will produce when made into coffee. Most coffee is a carefully composed mixture of different kinds of beans. Each company wants to make sure that its coffee always has the same taste, so customers know what to expect. They carefully monitor the mixture of beans to make sure it's the same each time. The coffee beans must be toasted before they can be sold. Untoasted beans cannot be used to make coffee. Machines sort and toast the beans, sometimes at the same time. Once they've been toasted, the beans are much darker in color. A technician makes sure each batch looks right when it comes out of the toaster. The coffee is washed thoroughly before it's sold. Then it's tested again for color and taste before being approved for packaging. Extremely fast boxing and wrapping machines then wrap and box the coffee before it's sent to stores. Most coffee is sold already ground up. Add some boiling water to the ground up beans, and you've got that special coffee smell and flavor that most people love. Candles are one of our oldest sources of light. Even today, they are still made in almost the same way they have been made for thousands of years. Wax, which is made of animal tallow or paraffin, is heated to a liquid. A wick, which is a specially wound cord of cotton, is dipped into the hot wax and removed time after time. Here, you can see how a spoon dipped into hot wax is quickly covered with a coat of wax that solidifies in a few seconds. In candle making, each time the wick is dipped into the hot wax, it gains a coat of wax. With each coating, the candle gets fatter and fatter. The wax cools quickly and hardens during the few seconds that it is removed from the tank of hot wax. Time after time, the candles are dipped into and out of the tank of hot wax. Each time they are dipped and removed, they get wider and wider. The process does not stop until they have become the size the candle maker wants. The only real difference between candle making today and candle making in ancient times is that the dipping racks are now powered by machines. Centuries ago, people used to dip the racks into and out of the hot wax by hand. Color is added to a candle by simply dipping it into a different colored wax. Now, wick machines wind special cotton cords that make the wick and give it its first coating of wax. These things used to be done by hand. Cutting and smoothing machines make sure that all the candles are the right length before they are sent to the wrapping machines. Once the candle has been cut and smoothed, the extra wax is remelted and the remaining wick is removed. This wax is returned to the dipping tank in order to make more candles. Once they're wrapped, the candles can be sent out to the store to one day light up our homes on special occasions. Making the lenses for eyeglasses is a very complex and careful process. Only the best quality glass can be used, perfectly clear and without any defects. It's called optical quality glass. A block of this glass is gradually ground and shaped until it becomes the lens in someone's eyeglasses. Here, we see several of the different steps that turn the block of glass into a lens. Using extremely accurate measuring machines, the technicians gradually reduce the size of the glass block, always testing to make sure the width and thickness is correct. Plastic is stuck to the glass to protect the side not being worked on. The glass is sanded by special sandblast machines that use compressed air to shoot millions of particles of fine sand at the glass, and then polished by other machines. Eventually, a template is made. A template is cut to the exact shape and width the glass lens must be. There's a template for every type of lens to correct every type of vision problem. It is the thickness and shape of the glass that determines how much rays of light are bent. Each person's vision problem requires that the rays of light are bent in different amounts. That's why corrective lenses are different shapes and widths. When the pieces of glass are placed in a cutting machine, the machine copies the template to produce the exact width and thickness needed. The finished lens fits into the eyeglass frames. This factory makes the kinds of pastries kids love. They're all vanilla filled, and some are chocolate covered too. To make the chocolate covered ones, chocolate powder, oil, butter, sugar, and flour is put in a mixer to make a chocolate batter. Flakier croissant-like pastries are made with regular baking dough, which will be rolled and flattened before it's made into little roll shapes. But the chocolate batter is poured into big cupcake tins. The cupcake tins move along into an oven which will bake them. Rolling and flattening the regular pastry dough for the croissant-like pastries will give it its flakiness. The squares of flaky dough are baked in an oven until they rise to their final shape. When the cupcakes have been baked, they're removed from the tins and sorted for inspection. A machine cuts the cupcakes in half so they will have a place for the filling. The top halves are put back on, and the whole thing is coated with creamy chocolate. An air blower gets rid of excess chocolate and helps the chocolate to harden as it cools. The flaky pastries have their filling injected into them before their top halves are put back on by hand. Everything goes through wrapping and packing machines before the pastries are sent to stores. A great many different steps are needed to make the batteries which make our toys and flashlights work. Manganese and graphite are mixed together to form a circular ring placed inside the inner battery case. But wait, to understand what we're watching, we have to understand how ordinary flashlight batteries work. Batteries like this produce electrical current in a simple way. A carbon substance, the manganese and graphite we just saw, is separated from zinc in another part of the battery. What separates them is a thick electrolyte paste, which you will see added to the battery. When a battery produces electricity, a chemical reaction between the electrolyte and the zinc transfers electric current to the casing of the battery. A rod must go through the electrolyte for the electron transfer, which produces current to take place. The bottom of the battery is the exposed inner case. The top is connected to the rod going through the electrolyte. When each is connected to a wire or another connection, the chemical reaction takes place and electricity is produced. Eventually, not enough unused carbon material or zinc is left. That's when the battery won't work anymore. You can make a simple battery at home, although not one you can use in a flashlight or a toy. And you certainly cannot make as many as this factory can using all the different machines that we have seen. When the batteries have been tested, they are sent through shrink wrapping machines, which will prepare them for display at store counters. If we didn't have batteries, imagine how many toys we wouldn't be able to use. Bottles, and more bottles, and even more bottles. Thousands and thousands of bottles. A bottling plant is a crazy, crazy place. It looks like something out of a wild and wacky cartoon. The bottling plant we're visiting puts soda into glass bottles. Most soft drinks in America are now in plastic bottles, but many still use glass bottles like the ones we're seeing. Glass bottles can be reused over and over again. New bottles from the glass factory are mixed in with old bottles that have been returned from stores. All kinds of weird and wonderful machines keep the bottling moving on the race through the plant to get washed, filled, and capped. Sometimes it looks like a crazy dance, sometimes like a parade. Each glass bottle is sterilized by a washing machine, then dried with hot air, then inspected and removed if it is chipped or broken. When it's all ready to be filled, the bottle passes under a spout that fills it with just the right amount of soda. The capping machine is really crazy. Each cap starts into the machine as a pre-printed disc. The machine whacks it into the shape of a bottle cap and twists it onto the bottle to seal the bottle completely tight. A casing machine counts the bottles and loads them into cases to be delivered to stores. Then, people will buy them, drink the contents, return the empty bottles, and the whole crazy thing starts all over again. To make cream cheese, milk is heated in large vats and fermented for a short time, much shorter than cottage cheese, for example. A stirring machine mixes the ferment in and keeps the mixture from solidifying too much. Workers watch carefully to see that the right consistency is maintained at every stage of the process. For some cream cheese, spices like chives are added to the mix and stirred in. The filling machine measures out exactly the right amount of cream cheese to fill each box. The cream cheese is still pretty gooey. In reality, the filling machines work much, much faster than what we are seeing. Slow motion lets you see it better. Some of the wrapping and boxing is still done by hand. In larger factories, it's all done by machine. Once boxed, the cream cheese is refrigerated at just above freezing. This will harden it up to the spreadable creaminess everyone loves. A worker tests and tastes each batch of cream cheese and writes down his test results. I bet he's sick of cream cheese by the end of the day, but it looks pretty good to me. Remember when we saw how newspapers are made? Well, books are printed in a similar fashion. The pages are printed on one continuous sheet of paper and then cut into the pages of a book. Most of what we are watching shows how the covers of a book are made. This is the part that's quite different from newspaper printing. Each cover starts as a separate piece of thick, glossy paper. A four-color press prints the cover in color. It's called four-color because it uses red, blue, yellow, and black to create all the colors in the rainbow. Separate printing drums on the four-color press print the red, blue, yellow, and black parts of the colors separately, but all in the same place. When all four colors have been printed, it looks just like the colors you see in real life. Sheets of cardboard cut to the right size are used to give each cover stiffness and durability. The printed cover sheet will be glued to the cardboard and will look just the way your school books look. While the covers are being made, the pages have been printed. A machine cuts them to page size and folds them into neat packets called folios. Each folio is part of a book. The folios are stacked together in the order the pages go in the book. Then, they are either sewn together, as we see here, or they are glued together, which is much more common. The pages are ready to be put in their cover. A binding machine glues the covers to the stacked, trimmed, and sewn pages. And now we've got a completed book, ready to be boxed and sent to a school or bookstore. Costume jewelry is jewelry that doesn't use much precious metal or any precious gems. It's made by using lots of machine processes. The most expensive jewelry is made individually, by hand. For costume jewelry, first, a rubber mold is prepared. The empty spaces in the mold are in the shapes the jewelry pieces will be. Hot liquid metal, called white metal because that's its color, is poured into the mold. A machine spins the mold at several thousand revolutions per minute. It spins so fast that the metal fills every little empty space in the mold and takes the shape it is designed to be. When the machine stops, the metal has cooled and hardened. A worker takes the pieces out of the mold. Pins can now be set into the pieces. A worker takes any real rough edges and extra bits of metal off by hand. The pieces are then put into a polishing drum containing water and small stones. The polishing machine spins and shakes like a washing machine. The metal pieces are smoothed out by rubbing against the stones. This is called stone polishing. The jewelry pieces are then sanded clean and soldered where necessary. Placing the jewelry in a special tank plates it with a very thin covering of gold. The tank contains tiny particles of gold in solution. When an electric current is turned on, enough gold sticks to the outside of the metal pieces to make it shiny. Finally, a skilled craftsman covers parts of the jewelry with hot liquid enamel. When it cools, The enamel is hard and smooth. Lots of work goes into making jewelry as pretty as this. Everybody loves peanuts, and the way they're grown, harvested, and packaged is really pretty fascinating. The peanut plants grow low along the ground. Each one produces lots of peanuts, just as if they were berries. Harvesting machines drive along the rows to scoop up all the peanuts they can, whole truckloads full. Workers bag the peanuts in big burlap bags. The bags are then delivered to the processing plant, where they will go through a series of different steps before we get to eat them. Before anything else can happen, the peanuts are sorted by size. Most peanuts are shelled before they are sold, but many are sold in the shell. After they've been toasted in a special oven, a machine measures them out into bags. Some peanuts will be separated to be crushed into peanut oil for use in cooking, or as a coating for the peanuts we eat. Most of the peanuts will be shelled, sorted again, then salted, and loaded by machine into the bags or jars we see in the stores. Different machines assure that each bag has the right amount of peanuts at exactly the right weight. To make sure the peanuts taste the way we like, the factory tests each lot of peanuts for taste. These people taste peanuts all day long. Imagine eating peanuts every single day. Finally, the jars are capped by this capping machine. It looks kind of like a mechanical octopus gone wild, with all its arms constantly spinning. And that's how peanuts get from the fields to us. We are going to see how French semi-soft cheese is made. This is the cheese you see in round little wooden boxes at the store. As with other cheese, milk is fermented in vats. Semi-soft cheese, like this, is only fermented for a very short time. The fermented milk is poured into vats. There, it will be allowed to curdle slightly. The vats are raked and strained to keep lumps from forming. The slightly curdled cheese in formation is then poured into circular molds. This is the form the finished cheese will have. Salt is added at this stage. Most cheese contains a lot of salt. The round cheeses are stacked on trays and put into a cool aging room. Here, the cheese will sit for 12 days. The aging process is what gives a cheese its own unique consistency and taste. In general, the longer a cheese is aged, the harder it is. This cheese will be just semi-soft. After aging, the cheese is ready to be eaten. Inspectors taste each lot to be sure it has come out the way it's supposed to. Consumers expect every cheese from this factory to taste alike. Because semi-soft cheese is a little delicate, it is usually wrapped by hand. Notice how the woman wrapping the cheeses wears plastic gloves to avoid touching the cheeses with her hands. Wrapping and boxing is all that's left to be done before the cheeses will be sent to stores. Cheeses like this can be sent all over the world. With proper refrigeration, they can be stored for a long time and still taste fresh and flavorful.